One is things like, continued agenda. So, for example, roads has to continue.
Right.
But how do we monetize more assets under TOT, etc., make that slightly, more prevalent is something that I would look at. Renewables is anyway big; it has to continue. Okay, but the question is how much of renewables can we, put into the grid? How much of balancing do we need? So how do we kind of do more FDRE bids, more bids with storage, etc., to keep the grid balanced? Because at a point we will reach a situation where it will become more and more challenging to schedule if you are only running the grid on a large variety of renewables. So there I say, okay, you've got to do what you're doing today plus a little bit more. Then I would say the other big thing that I'd want to see some direction towards is what do we do on some of the newer, emerging or transition sectors like, hydrogen, like CBG, etc. So how can we make that more widespread with some regulatory inputs? And then number three is, in my view, what do we do on sectors where traditionally the private guys haven't played too much of a role? So, for example, railways. It's a big vacuum today in terms of private involvement. Defense, and especially if we have a goal of being, Atma Nirbhar in defense, what do we do there? And three is, priority reforms on things like the discom sector, right? How are we going to think about privatization, given the fact that we've seen the advantages of privatization play out in many different pockets? So how are we thinking about that side of things? Because we are anyway talking about things like smart meters, etc., which private guys are operating. But then why can't they run at least some circles, some discoms, and make it kind of fairly efficient? And I think number four is kind of making sure that, given that infra assets are fairly long dated, and people don't take a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year view, they take a 10-year, 15-year, in some cases 25-year view. What's our tax predictability, and what is the kind of comfort that investors can derive from the predictability on wider regulation and also tax, right? Because most of these after a point become yielding assets, and how do you then make sure that you can upstream your cash flows or redeploy them into other projects, or if you're kind of running them by yield and actually take the yield where it is due to be paid, right? So it's mentioned, then the guys will need some yield at some point in time if they need some money. So that's what you kind of need to think about.